everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Rosia and today I'm going to be reading you my YYGS essays. Now if you don't already know, YYGS stands for Yale Young Global Scholars and it's this summer program for high school students made by Yale University. Usually it's a residential camp either at Yale, like the university in America, or at this place called Yale Centre Beijing. There's one in Africa as well, I think, but they're discontinuing the Beijing one, which I went to in 2019 in person, which is really sad because it was honestly the best 2 weeks of my life. And you have to write an application for it, which is kind of like a normal US university application. You have to put things like teachers' recommendations in, your grades, your activities, your transcript, your own essays. And that's why I want to read you my essays. Now they change the questions every year, so this probably isn't going to be plagiarizable, which is fine. But like, don't plagiarize, kids, it's not good and it's dishonest. But you can plagiarize your own essays. For example, these essays that I wrote when I was in year 11, when I was about 16, I used some of the phrases or changed them slightly for my actual US university application essays. Yeah, so you can reuse your own essays, no problem with that. And I just want to read through them. I read through them just now and I feel like I really do think that they did come from my heart. Some sentences kind of like generic and just not really well thought out, but I still don't really know how to address some of the issues that I wrote about in my essays. And of course, like, we don't know anything, but it just makes me sad because I feel like, I low-key feel like I haven't progressed in terms of like wanting to help others or wanting to, serve people that really need it. But we all have to remember that sometimes we are making a big difference just by interacting with the people around us and by looking out for the people that God has put in our lives just really close to us at the moment. We don't have to think on a global scale just yet. And we are really making the world of a difference to one person sometimes. So that's something to bear in mind as I read these. Obviously, I was quite an ambitious 16-year-old. I think I probably still am quite an ambitious 18-year-old. But yeah, you can judge for yourself. Now, this first question is, write about an example of social inequality. What do you see as a primary cause of this inequality? 500 words. I'll be reading it now. Our world is rife with injustice. While millions of children fight to stay warm, I have a choice of outfit every day. In the United Kingdom, receiving free education is taken for granted. Elsewhere, there are young girls who are determined to overcome barriers to their own education, risking their lives. I have an almost infinite range of nutritious options on my school menu, yet there are desperate young children who, right now, could never imagine what a satisfied stomach feels like. This injustice weaves throughout history. My grandparents survived the Great Chinese Famine, driven by desperation. My grandfather ate raw onions as if they were apples. My grandmother witnessed her dearest mother slowly but inevitably deteriorating from the lack of food, breaking her heart. While she was powerless to help, paralysed as she was by the fatally incompetent nature of the government. In 21st century China, the juxtaposition between the lives of the rich and poor never fails to strike me. During visits to my parents' homeland, I'm pulled between two polar opposites. On one side are my relatives from the countryside. Lacking dog food, they resorted to chucking leftovers to their mongrel. Their houses looked brittle. Their everyday existence was a million miles from my own life, yet we remained bound by blood. On the opposite side of the spectrum are families similar to my uncle's, whether it be vacations to exotic attractions or an evening spent at Beijing's premier Peking duck restaurant, in which delicately diced duck lay elaborately assembled and adorned with a rainbow palette of sauces, sugars and vegetables. Time spent with this family is anything but dull. No one can deny that our privileged culture has painted over the dirty and disintegrating underlayer of society, so prominent in countless places, in order that our entitled selves would be shielded from the unjust misery. The gap between the affluent and the poor borders on absurdity. The division is frightening in its starkness. There are two types of people, those who have nothing and those with everything. Another torturous truth is that right when thousands of real people's lives are being wrecked in the face of natural disasters, privileged people are producing multi-million-dollar disaster thrillers only for the fleeting entertainment of those consumers privileged enough to have the means to purchase a ticket to such escapist entertainment. The primary cause of these disparities in wealth is that, as privileged people, we play blind. We cannot continue to disregard the sufferings of millions. There needs to be an end to our distancing, and now is the time to knock down this wall between our mundane, if hypnotically comfortable, existences and their living hell. Poverty is a desperate, pressing and present emergency. Blessed to be placed in privileged positions, we should strive to love with a selfless and humble heart. Our society stands at the threshold of an urgent revival. All it takes is for one pair of eyes to open to the world around them. I took a lot of this inspiration for this essay from articles that I read online, particularly this one called further.i.net. I'll link it in the description. But it really does make me think, like, just reading what other people write always gives me such ideas to write in my own words. I just love reading other people's ideas, you know, and low-key taking them, but not taking them at the same time. Do you get me? But I think it's always good to look to other people for inspiration when you're trying to search what's actually deep in your heart and try to like express it in words, because it's a difficult thing. And you don't want to sound too dramatic, but you also want to feel sincere. And I feel like that's a difficult balance to strike. The next question is, what is a topic you find fascinating and are interested in exploring? 200 words. I write about history here, and it was actually like my favourite subject at school, but I didn't carry it on until A-level, sadly. It was the one that I found hardest, second to English actually, and art, but I just found it so enjoyable and so interesting. Studying history at school, I am continually fascinated by the complex intricacies and multifaceted nature of the fabric of time, constituting in millions of unique threads woven into a unity, accumulating in the umbrella term of history. Our school was fortunate enough to have the legendary poet John Agard perform his compelling poems. One of them, Checking Out Me History, particularly resonated in me, as I too wish to explore the rich history of my own ancestors. As much as I love learning about the Tudors, Stuarts or Victorians, I long to delve beyond these realms. I long to explore the days in which the poet Libe eloquently penned his timeless masterpieces in ink calligraphy, or to investigate the broad and dynamic Tang dynasty ruled by Emperor Li Shiming, an ancestor of mine, or so my grandfather claims. Convergence nor divergence is what we as a society need, especially in this critical century of change and advancements. This past is a comprehensive and reliable tool to help shape the future. To lose sight of history, any part of it, pushes humanity towards a perilous crisis in which history is certain to repeat itself. What I said at the end in the last paragraph, convergence not divergence, I heard in a talk at Buckingham University, which was a history trip actually in GCSE year, and it's just stuck with me forever because our world is getting increasingly globalised, and convergence is sort of like everyone, like as the name suggests, converging together. Divergence is sort of separating and putting people into categories, and I feel like there obviously needs to be both in life, and there's a time for both. And I feel like in general we should all be so much more converging as people and just be accepting to and open to new people and ideas and experiences. Like going to talks and stuff, like you never know. I don't know why that talk has stayed with me this long, but some things that people can say can really impact other people's lives, so also don't take your words lightly, kids. The next one is 200 words. We want to learn more about your backgrounds, beliefs, values, and the important people in your life. Please tell us about something that has influenced you and articulate how it has shaped you. 200 words. So I just talked about my culture and like being brought up British born Chinese. If you haven't already, check out my poem. I hate watching it, but like, yeah, it was kind of cathartic to write. I was born to an immigrant family and nurtured in two worlds, an English-speaking environment at school and a Chinese bubble at home. Contrary to the stereotype of Asian parents who never utter a single "I love you," my parents showered my brother and me with constant affection. Growing older only fostered greater appreciation for the sacrifices my parents made and the lives they surrendered in order to provide a brighter future for us. Since my earliest days, my parents instilled the notion that hard work is necessary, and it does bear fruit. Although my parents toiled through years of an initial language barrier, still they have repeatedly demonstrated to me that a language even greater than English or Mandarin is the language of love. As a result of their sacrifice and my diligence, I strive to channel the life entrusted to me, enlightened through education and cultural awareness, into the cause of love. I have a purpose greater than my own. Whether it be through small steps, such as accompanying a friend who has no other companion to dinner, or more deliberate ventures like volunteering at international camps, my dream is to make a difference to the lives of people around the globe. That definitely still holds true to me. I do really want to make a difference, but as I said, sometimes we need to look more locally, but it can still make a world of an impact to other people. And I think my volunteering at international camps was me referencing how I volunteered at this summer camp called Discovery Summer as a student host. If you're a UK citizen, I really recommend applying for that opportunity because it was such a good time. And the last essay was a 100-word mini essay, and it was just like, why is this activity most meaningful to you? And the activity I chose was music. Some of my fondest memories include time spent jamming with my church band, singing carols for the elderly, being utterly immersed in a sea of music, in the current of a symphony orchestra, or finishing a concert to an eruption of applause in the audience. For me, music is a door to the world. I've toured around the UK with the NCO, competed as a finalist for competitions around the region, and sung in Trinity College, Cambridge's chapel, just to name a few. Through music, I have gained the key skills of empathy, compassion, teamwork, communication, and time management. This definitely still holds true for me. Music is something that is so special to me in my life. I've definitely met the most amazing people and the most important people in my life through music, and I just love it. Like, I'm so excited this summer for hopefully the BBC proms to be on, because I will be there. Like, I'll be there. And I love, like, my favourite memories from past summers was just going to London spontaneously and buying a standing ticket for the proms and just like listening to an orchestra play. That's honestly the most therapeutic thing in the world. And I feel like the last sentence was a bit of a personal statement-ish answer, like, oh, I've gained empathy, compassion, teamwork. But to be fair, I have gained that through music, so it wasn't a lie. Now I'm going to stop this video here, otherwise it's going to go on for way too long, but thank you so much for listening to my essays. I hope it was somewhat helpful or somewhat interesting to you. It's definitely interesting to me to read something that I wrote 2 years ago, but yeah, I feel like my values are still similar. I've definitely got more ideas and grown as a person since then, as one would hope, because I am a bit older. But yeah, I definitely think maturing is, it's a process of getting older, and we can't like fast track it. But thank you for just like staying here to the end, and hope to see you in my next video. I've forgotten how to talk already, but yeah, bye.